Hello again, YouTube. I'm going to do another Maya video for you today. We're not going to be cutting any holes in anything, and we're not going to be duplicating anything. We're going to create some cool looking 3D text, and I'm going to show you how to do that and how you can maybe then take it over to Photoshop and kind of finalize it, just make it look cool. So let's just begin. Here we go. We're going to start out first, and we're going to go up to Create, Text, and we're going to click on the option box first. You can do this by creating paths in Illustrator or Photoshop and importing them in, but I think this text feature built in with Maya works just as good. So what I'm going to do is type out the text that I want to use. Mine's going to be EKO, spacing in between, just so I have a little room to move these things around. And my font that I already pre-chose is called Rescograph. It's like a graffiti font. It's one that I like. It works well with 3D. And a font choice is actually pretty important when using this because you can't get anything with too crazy detail. Otherwise, it's not going to translate well when you try and convert it into 3D. Things may get sent all over or disproportioned and it won't look good. So I'm going to choose that Rescograph. Kind of choose a bold font if you can get one. You can probably get Rescograph at dafont.com, dafont.com. I'm going to choose bevel as my option here. And now these are the settings you're going to have to kind of play with: the bevel width, bevel depth, extrude distance. The crappy thing about Maya's text feature, it doesn't really have a preview function, so you kind of got to guess what you're looking at here or know what it looks like and then undo and redo and undo and redo. But this is kind of stuff that I've already gone over, so I know my extrude is going to be a little bit longer than 2500, so I'm going to do 3500, and I think that's okay. I'm going to choose straight out. The bevel size and width, the width and depth is okay. You want to do it at the front and the back, the caps. That's basically going to be closing off the font and making it a solid object instead of just doing the outside areas. And then this is going to be same as outer, so this will be fine. You don't have to mess with that. You can just hit apply, and we'll get a look at what these things look like. I hit 5 on my keyboard to smooth them. So this is kind of almost perfect. This is exactly what I was looking for. Now, like I said here, here's the bevel is this little area right here. If I undo this, oops, undo all that, and I change the bevel width, say to 500, you'll see what'll happen. It'll look a lot uglier, probably. Well, it's a lot thicker here, but it also closed out this little edge here, and it kind of connected them and filled in the hole there. So that bevel is way too big. We're going to change that around. Go back to 0.100. Let's delete these first. And then hit apply. And this, for this particular font, this is exactly what I want. And it's going to vary from font to font or what kind of extrusion that edge you're getting here. Let me just show you what some of the other ones look like. This is straight out bevel. Let's undo all this and do convex out. One's actually not too much different. I mean, it kind of looks similar. Let's undo that. We'll look at another one, concave out. And you can see the difference there. Kind of holds the edge here and then kind of does a little extrude on the faces. It's kind of interesting, but it's not too smooth with this particular font. So we'll get rid of that. Let's do a straight side edge. And you can see that kind of gave it these little points at the top. We're going to undo all this. You can play with those as you go along, but I'm going to choose straight out. This is the one I like. And now I'm going to choose all 3 of these, or select them all, and go to select. Let's see, wait a minute. I want to separate these. So I'm going to go to mesh, separate. I want each of these to be their own individual object. Like this, like that. Now you will notice with the default shader here, you've got some like shaded edges here and here. That may look a little weird when you render out, so there's a way to kind of fix that. I don't know if it's the right way to do it, but it just works for me. So I'm going to select here, this top edge is all black. I want to go up to my polygon menu and then go to Edit Mesh, Insert Edgeloop Tool. And I'm going to try and get as close to this edge here as I can and you can see that kind of took that black edge away, kind of cleaned it up. It's going to do that on all these fonts really quick in the areas that look black, like this one right here. That kind of cleans that up. This might be hard to see in this mode, but maybe one here, like that. We're going to have to do it on these, I know that for sure. So let's select this object. And we'll go back to my tool. We'll do it here. Probably up here. Where else does it look a little shaded? Down here. Alright, that looks pretty good. Let's just check the O. O could use one up here. Right there. Other than that, I think we're pretty good. So the next thing I want to do now is, you know what? Let's put one down here. There, and okay, we're good. Next thing I want to do is kind of set these up for how I want them to render and how I want them to be together or rotated or whatever I'm going to do. Again, this is going to depend on what you're working with, what font, what it looks like. But in order to figure out how I want to lay these things out, I want to design my floor basically and the background. I'm going to give one of them nice smooth, like a big sheet, so this kind of renders out nice and smooth, like it doesn't have a background almost. So the way I do that, excuse me, is I'm going to create a polygon primitive plane. It's going to come out with 10 segments because I just never changed the settings. So I'm going to click into my polyplane inputs and change this to 1 and 1. And then I'm going to scale this thing way up. Like so. That's probably okay. Just going to move it into position here. Maybe like that. And I'm going to select these two back edges. Oops. Select both of them. And I'm going to go to Edit Mesh Extrude. I'm going to drag these guys up a little bit. Oops. How did I unselect the other one? Okay. Then I'm going to hit OK. Hit G on my keyboard. There we go. And oh yeah, I'm having fun here. Let's undo all this. I'm going to select my edges. I'm going to grab this edge, and I'm going to do an edit. Oh, keep faces together. It wasn't checked. It's very important. Make sure keep faces together is checked. Okay. Now I'm going to go up and do Edit Mesh Extrude. There we go. That's not too difficult. Alright, so this is going to be my background, and I want this to be smooth down here, this edge. I don't want this to render out like it's in a room. So I'm going to select this edge and select this edge. Go to Edit Mesh and Bevel. Now I know my settings are right, so if you need to change your settings, you click in the option box. But I'm just going to click Bevel, and you can always change it in its inputs here under Poly Bevel. The segments, 1, 2, 3, 4, those are okay. The offset is okay. I mean, this is exactly kind of what I want. So the only thing I need to do now is delete these faces here. These little extra faces that I created when I did that bevel. Delete them. And add some edge loops just so that this holds its shape. Oops, and I went to the wrong tool. So one there. Oops. One right there. And one on the top. So now when I smooth this by hitting 3 on the keyboard, you get this nice room. When this renders out, I mean, you may see a little bit of this line, this highlight here, but most of the time you won't. So actually I'm going to scale this up a little bit because this is a little too small. I want this round part here to be back away from these letters. Alright, now I can start manipulating my letters into the position that I want them to be in. Since they're separated, I can just drag the E up. And I want to kind of make this thing look like it's actually sitting on the floor. So I'm going to rotate it down. And then maybe move it down a little bit in the position. Kind of go underneath. Like that. And I'm going to move the K, except I'm going to do Modify, Center Pivot, get this manipulator right in the center of this thing here. And I'm going to start playing around with this K and move this into position. This one I kind of want this to rest up against this E, like so. This thing I want it actually to be a little bit more rotated. I want this top edge to be hanging on it here. Move this guy back a little bit. Just like that. And then my O, I'm going to do the same thing, modify, center pivot. I'm going to drag it around. The O will kind of just leave sitting where it's at. Just move it closer. That was kind of cool. Okay, so that's kind of the text creation part of it. Now, there's a lot to making this look cool, to actually rendering this out so that it looks cool. And I'm going to try and show you how to do that. I mean, there's a lot of different variables that come into play when you're trying to make a render. For me specifically versus what you guys are going to create, it's going to be your HDR image, which is going to make yours look probably different than mine. It's almost going to be impossible to duplicate because I'm not uploading the HDR image. I don't own it like that. But any HDR image you want to get, you want to just kind of look at the colors, because the colors in that HDR image are going to play into what your scene actually renders out to look like. If it's a blue sky, you're going to have this blue tint to your image. So again, like I said, it's going to vary, but let's get a basic light going. Actually, first let's do this. Let's add a shader to this Lambert floor here. I don't want to just make it this gray floor, so I'm going to go up to Hypershade. Going to create a blend, a regular Maya blend. I'm going to double click it to go to its settings. The color I'm going to change almost to white, and maybe make it a little bit darker, like so. I'm going to go down to its reflectivity. Instead of being 0.500, it's going to be a lot less. We're going to make it like, let's do it like 120. Specular roll off. It's got this big old highlight on it right there. We want to kind of lower that down a little bit, so we're going to make that smaller, a little less bright, and its eccentricity is going to go down a little bit too. So it's something like that. It's got a little bit of a highlight, but nothing crazy. So we're going to middle mouse button that blend, and we're going to drag it onto the object that we want to turn to that color, and there you go. Let's get a light going. So we're going to go up to Create Lights. I'm going to do it as an area light, and you can see it's just created it right here. What I'm going to do is go to Panels, look through Selected. Since my light is selected, I'll be looking through that light, and right now this is what you see the light is looking at. So I'm going to back out of it, and I'm going to kind of position it to where I think the light should go, what I want it to be shining on the most. Maybe something like this, I guess. I don't know. Kind of like that. I'm going to go back to my perspective panel. So panels, perspective, click perspective. I'm back there. There is some things I want to do with the light, though. Let's change some settings with this light. So we're going to our area light inputs here. Scroll all the way back to the top. The color, we will maybe make this, I mean, lights are never really white. They always have some kind of tint to them. So I'm going to do this super, it's going to be close to white, but it's not going to be exactly white. Something like that. Okay, we want it to emit all of this stuff. Something very important with the light, we want to do ray trace shadows. So you're going to go into your shadows tab, or drop down menu I should say, and we want to choose use ray trace shadows. And we're going to choose, our shadow rays are going to be like, you want something really high. If you have low shadow rays, it's going to be faded and maybe noisy looking. So what you want to do is really bump this up. It's going to slow your render time down like you wouldn't believe, but it's important to get a nice clean render. Shadow rays are very important. So playing around with it, I figured out 20 tends to be a good number. It's going to be a nice crisp shadow, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. Let's see. There's something I want to do here in my mental ray tab. Okay, we're gonna go to mental ray. Where is that? Where did I go? Mental ray. Here it is. All right, we want to click on use light shape. First, you need to go to mental ray, then area light. Okay, you want to choose use light shape, and we want to change this type to quadrat. Oh, where did it go? Where is it? You know what? Let's not mess with that right now. I'm missing something, but where did it go? Okay, well, what I'm going to do under this area light section, I'm going to bump up these samples to, I think maybe 12. I believe it's the closer the light is to your object, the more samples you need. The farther away it is, the less samples you need. It's going to help your quality out of your render here. So I'm going to just set that at 12 and just see how this looks. And what I'm going to do is make my text chrome. Now, back in the day, you used to have to make chrome shaders. It was a pain in the ass. But now, Maya does that for you with mental ray. So what I want to do is go up to my window rendering editors, hypershade. I'm going to click mental ray. And I want to look for Maya Material X, I believe it's called. Or Mia Material X. Yeah, here we go. Mia Material X. It has built-in presets right at the top here. A lot of them. But you can just choose Chrome and replace. So I'm going to take this middle mouse button, drag it onto my letters here, like so. Now, Chrome works off reflections. If you have no reflections, you're not going to see Chrome. You're just going to see gray. So it's very important that you have something for the Chrome to reflect off. Basically, flat surfaces and Chrome don't really go well together. This front of this E here and this K and this O, they're pretty flat. It's not going to get a lot of reflections. I'll probably get some. But where I'm going to get the reflections are here. In here, you'll probably see some. Here, this might be flat and not chrome. But when it's all done, it'll all come together and it'll look chrome. So what is it going to reflect off of? It needs to reflect off something. Right now, I don't have anything in here. What it is going to reflect off of is our HDR image. So we're going to mess with that in the render settings. So this button up here gets you to your render settings. We want to go through all the regular normal stuff first. So we want to render using mental ray, not Maya. We're going to go down in the common tab all the way to the bottom. Render options. We're going to unenable the default light because that light does no good. We're going to go to features. Actually, let's do the lighting part. Let's do the HDR part first. So indirect lighting, image-based lighting. We're going to click create. You're going to go into image-based lighting attributes. You're going to click on your little file or circle or whatever it is, depending on what type of version of Maya you're using. And you want to navigate to wherever your HDRs are. So I have some here from Grayscale Gorilla, which is a good Cinema 4D site with previews. I'm going to choose Light Tint Reflection. This is mine. But like I said, any HDR is going to be good. So choose that. Choose whatever. And we're going to have to mess with some of their settings inside this image-based lighting. So let's see. Up at the top here is all good. We'll need to mess with that. Render stats. You want to turn off primary visibility. We can leave everything else checked. We are going to go down to adjust final gather color effects. If this is at hyper white right now like it is, it's going to wash out your scene with super white light because it's getting its light from this. So we need to kind of lower this down a little bit. Like so, maybe this color. Well, you know, you can always play around with that, but make sure you have that checked and you can then mess with this. We're going to emit light. Now, quality U, quality V, samples, all this stuff is going to affect how your render finally looks when it's done. How smooth it is, how, you know, if there's spots on the floor, all that stuff is going to be affected with this little section here. Well, part of it anyway. But it's going to increase your render times like you wouldn't believe. So if you start bumping this stuff up, it's going to look a lot better, but you might be looking at a 3-hour render. So we're going to leave all these by default. I'm going to take off emit specular because the specular we're going to get from the Chrome shader and the light that bounces off of it. So we don't need any more specular. Ray depth limit is fine. Yep, that looks all good. Okay, so now we want to go back into our render settings and start messing around with the quality and things like that. So indirect lighting, that's there. We're in that tab still. We want to make sure we turn on final gathering. We're going to leave all this stuff the way it is defaulted. But again, this stuff can be bumped up, and that's going to make your render look a little bit better, but it's also going to kill you in time. So we'll go into quality here. Anti-aliasing quality. Actually, the default setting for this type of picture is fine. It's just some, you don't have to change this max sample level up at all. Just leave everything the way it is. What am I missing? We're going to our common stuff, and we're going to render from a camera, but I haven't set up the camera yet, so we'll have to do that in a second. We're going to change this to a TIFF image. It's going to be from 1K square. It's kind of what I like. And we'll come back to this in a second after I create this camera. So we're going to go up to create cameras, camera, and we're going to again do panels, look through selected, and we're going to set up the camera to kind of see what our final image is going to be. One thing I want to do is going to help me see what the exact size of the image is and what's going to be in that frame is go up to view, camera settings. We're going to choose resolution gate. So this is going to be the 1K. So we need to fit everything into this box here, kind of. I do kind of want to give it a little side angle, something like this. And then you can play around with the camera settings if you want. If you want to change your focal length, all this other fun stuff. Kind of makes the render look a little different and weird when you start messing with this stuff. It's kind of fun. Alright, since for the sake of this video, I'm not going to start playing around with that stuff. But I think we are set up and ready to render. I need to go back into render settings. Camera 1, we want to render from this camera. This is the view we want to look at. And everything else is good to go. What I'm going to do is pause this video while this renders. It's probably going to take an hour. I don't know, half an hour. I'm on a newer Mac, but it's for some reason really slow at rendering 3D. My MacBook Pro is way better. So I'll be right back. Here it is, 2.5 hours later. I get this nice clean render. Kind of exactly what I was looking for. The floor is nice and smooth. The chrome looks pretty awesome along the beveled edges. This yellow up here is from kind of the HDR image that I use. It's got a little bit of a yellow window. The background came out pretty smooth. I ended up having to tweak in some things with the final gathering. The accuracy, I bumped it up to 120. Point density to 1.5. What else did I do? Oh, down here in the filter to 20. The floor was getting spotty and the shadows were looking a little bit ugly, so bumping that stuff up cleaned it up, but it kills you on render time. Like you can see on the bottom here, 2 hours, 29 minutes, and 35 seconds. So that's what it took to render this, but we're not done yet. I'm just going to show you how to do an ambient occlusion pass, which we can then take them both into Photoshop and make it look a lot cooler than this even. So first I'm just going to save this. Desktop EKO1. Save, and we're going to set up the ambient occlusion. So I'm going to just click the save button on this real quick. Close that out. Close that out. We need to go into our layers mode here, so I'm going to click this icon here to bring up my layers, and we need to be in the render tab. And right now we're on the master layer. What we need to do is first get out of the camera that I'm in so I don't move that around. And I'm going to select all, including my camera and the floor. And I'm going to right click on master layer and I'm going to do create empty layer. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Let's just do this. We'll hit the new layer icon. Go into that and then add selected objects. Okay, now what we're going to need to do is go into this layers attributes, which let's see if I can click this here. Yep, this will take me there. Okay, and now we want to go to, where am I here? Let's go back into our layers. Hold on a second. I forget how to do this. Let's see, options, new. I thought it was in attributes. Ah, okay. Well, I don't know what your Maya is. 2011, 2010, they're different. I think this is 2013. So we're going to click into presets, under layer, attributes, click on occlusion. If my computer will let me, but it's kind of freezing on me. Okay, there we go, occlusion. It's going to turn everything black. It gives you this surface shader on there. And that's kind of exactly what we want. We're going to go into its attributes here. And what we need to do is bump up these samples, because if you leave it at 16, when you render this image, it's going to look like a bunch of grain was just thrown all over it. So you could play with it, whatever, but 150 probably will work okay. I guess it depends on what size your image is and everything else. But 150 seems to be alright. I'm going to bump up this brightness a little bit from this white color just a little to a little gray like that. And I'm going to take this dark black and maybe lighten this up a little bit like so. Okay, and let me go into my render settings. This time we want to just make sure we're on the right layer, which is layer 1. I didn't rename it. Where did it go? Where am I here? I thought it was under common, but why am I not seeing this? Well, for some reason, I can't find it, but there's something that says which layer you're rendering. I'm pretty sure it just defaults to the layer. Oh, here, right up top, render layer, layer 1. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so we need to go back into our camera. Panels, camera 1. And we're going to take another render, and I'm going to pause this so you don't have to sit through it again, and I will be right back, hopefully. Again, and this is the final outcome of the ambient occlusion pass. It only took 4 minutes and 15 seconds, so not too bad. So basically what we're going to do is use all these nice shadows and overall coolness of this image, and we're going to put it on top of that other image that we just created in Photoshop, and we're going to change the blend options, and it's going to make it look a lot cooler. But as you can see, it's kind of nice and smooth. You don't see really any grain. If those samples were down at 16, it would just be, it would look like a mess. So I'm going to move over to Photoshop. I've already opened up both images that I need to, like so. So we got this one that was the first render, which took 2.5 hours. This one was the ambient occlusion, took 4 minutes and 15 seconds. I'm just going to take it and drag it onto my other image over here. Oop, you know what? Let's not do it that way. Let's go to Edit. Or, I'm sorry, select all. Oops, make sure we're in the right image. Edit, select all. Sorry, keep saying edit. Select all. Edit, copy. We're going to go over here. Make sure I deselect. Hit edit, paste. This way it's right on top of it. And now we are going to experiment with blend modes. Now, typically when people use ambient occlusion, I think they do it in the screen mode when they're compositing. Ew. And look at how bright that gets up there. And then they just play around with it. But here's the beauty about art. You can mess with every single one of these options, see what you tend to like the best, what outcome looks coolest on your picture, and stick with it. You don't need to conform to the norm. So let's go back, and I think, overlay, actually. I'm going to set my opacity back up to 100. Go to overlay. Yeah, see, the nice ambient occlusion gives these shadows this nice dark crispness in there. I'm going to lower the opacity and just play around with it and see how it looks. See, that's 0, almost 0. That's the ambient occlusion. I think that kind of looks cool. A little bright. Let's just see what other stuff looks like. Multiply. That just overall makes it darker. Soft light. That kind of looks cool. I kind of like that one too. But you get the picture. Play around with it. I told you I was going to show you how to make 3D text. I did, and I kind of went a little bit farther than I planned to, but there's a lot of information, I guess, in this video. Render settings and stuff like that. So hopefully you learned something. Sometimes I talk fast, so I'm sure it can be confusing, but I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks.